Hey, good to be seen. How are you? Good, good. One day at a time.
I'd like to call this October 6th session of the Holyoke City Council to order. The clerk will call the roll and record those members present.
Alexander. Bartley.
Here.
Bresnahan. Shatnoff. Here. Graney.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Leahy.
Present.
LeBron Martinez.
Here.
Lisi. Here. McGee. McGivern.
Here.
Soto. Tallman.
Here.
Bacon. Here. Valentine.
All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
And the city of Holyoke.
And
The City Council.
I used to say that. Yeah. How'd that happen? How'd that change? You just took it over.
We have an item laid on the table. Hearing no motions, we move to public comment. We have one speaker who has signed up for this evening. The gentleman's name is Stephen Bosco. He has a business office located at 430 Appleton Street. Is there a suspension of the rules to allow a non-resident to speak? But he does have a business here.
Suspend the rules.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to allow Mr. Bosco to speak. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So move. Welcome, Mr. Bosco.
Thank you. Is this on?
No.
Just check,
I'll speak loudly.
well, just kind of check it on because the folks at home like to hear.
Testing.
Perfect, there you go. You're all set.
We'd like to speak about item number 55 tonight. That is an item which has to do with fines that are brought by the building commissioner and other members of the inspectional services staff. And at present, my understanding is that although those those folks can levy fines against property owners that are not in compliance in one way or another. Those fines are really difficult for them to collect, and as a result, those fines often get ignored by property owners. I believe that this proposed ordinance would change that and would allow those fines to be converted to municipal liens, to liens against the property in question, if they're ignored, if the property owner does not pay them. I wanted to express my support for that ordinance. I think this absolutely is a tool that our ISD staff should have in their toolbox. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, without further ado, we move to communications. Okay. Item number two. Item number two is a communication from the mayor. It's a letter regarding an issue with blighted and abandoned buildings.
Can you just read it briefly?
Okay. It's dated October the 2nd, 2015. Dear councilors, it should come as no surprise that we in Holyoke have an issue with blighted and abandoned properties. While we have made many great strides in the past 4 years, such as revamping and strengthening our receivership program, auctioning off tax title properties, and aggressively going after code violation, there's still much work to do. On your agenda tonight, you have a number of communications and orders aimed at giving Holyoke the tools necessary to address these blighted and vacant buildings. These recommendations and action items come from working with various city departments and industry professionals from the region and across the nation. Some of the key items up for your approval are the creation of a 3-person property preservation team that will save the city millions of dollars over the next few years. By using funds already in the budget, along with CDBG funds, it will have no increase on the bottom line of the budget. A special act that would allow us to pierce the corporate veil that allows absentee landlords to walk away from one property while still reaping profits from another. A series of updates and common sense changes to our already existing blighted and vacant building section of our city code, and the adoption of language that would allow our law department to go after the worst offenders by placing liens on their properties. As these various orders and communications are interconnected, but will most likely be sent to finance or ordinance, I humbly ask that you consider holding a joint meeting of the two bodies. As always, I look forward to answering any questions you have. Respectfully, the mayor.
Be received and send to ordinance.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to send communication number 2 to the ordinance committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Motion to suspend the necessary rules and take up items number 53, 54, and 55. Those are the items that were listed in the mayor's letter.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to go now to items 53 through 55, to take them up as a package, I assume? Yep, okay. Thank you. All right, all in favor of doing that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 53 is introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that the City Council review and amend Section 18-35, Regulation of Blighted and Vacant Buildings on the Code of Ordinances, and any other section as may be necessary in order to update the policies and procedures as suggested in the communication from the mayor. Item number 54, also introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that the City Council consider a petition to the state legislature to adopt a special act that would allow the City of Holyoke to deny permits to any person that owes municipal taxes or fees for any property that is either owned or controlled, such as an LLC or trust, by that same person, and that allow the City of Holyoke to place a lien for the cost of securing or otherwise making safe a vacant or abandoned property against any other property owned or controlled by that same person. Item number 55, introduced by Councilors LeBron Martinez and Lisi, that the City Council adopt a municipal charges lien ordinance that would allow the city to record a lien against a property for any outstanding charges related to violations of any city ordinance, zoning ordinance, state sanitary code, or state building code.
Be received, sent to ordinance.
Motion on the floor has been made and seconded to receive these three orders and to refer all of them as a package to the ordinance committee. Is there any discussion? Counselor Lisi.
Just very briefly, I think that, the mayor's letter outlined some of the reasons why we want to pursue these types of ordinances. But I think we're very slowly expanding our toolbox in terms of the different types of ordinances, tools, and enforcement regulations that we can leverage onto vacant, abandoned properties and their owners to force them into compliance of taxes, or at least keeping their buildings in a better condition than allowing them to fall into blight. So I'd like to explore these more in ordinance.
Any other thoughts? Counselor Bacon?
I would just make a note that movement like this during an election season is the reason why I support two-year terms. Thanks.
Okay. Any other thoughts? All right. Motion on the floor is to receive these three items and refer them over to the ordinance committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number three. Item number three comes to us from our city clerk as well as our administrative assistant. It's the minutes of our September 15th meeting.
Be received and accept.
Okay, motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, to receive and approve the minutes of our September 15th meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Item number four. Item number four is a communication from Bellamy Schmidt. He's the acting city auditor. These are the monthly budget reports for the general fund and wastewater treatment plant as of June 30th, August, and as well as August 31st, 2015 month-end close. A motion to receive would be in order.
Receive.
Motion to receive.
Okay? Motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to the finance committee. Any discussion?
Aye. No.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number five. Item number five comes to us also from Mr. Schmidt. He is providing us with a copy of the external audit report prepared by Melanson Heath as a result of the completion of the audit of the city's finance records closing the period fiscal year 2014.
Finance.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to finance. I did want to make mention, Counselor Bartley, we had discussed one item on there I think you wanted to touch on.
We could take it
Recognizing
up-
Counselor Bartley.
We could take it up now, I just gotta find the number. 38, make a motion to take up 38 out of order.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to suspend the rules and take up item number 38. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Counselor Bartley files an order item number 38 that in light of the fiscal year 2014 audit dated 6/30/14, received by the city clerk on 9/25/15, the city auditor as well as the city's independent audit firm be invited to a future finance committee meeting, hearing to answer questions and provide any updates. This motion as well as the communication marked number 5. The motion on the floor is receive both the order as well as the communication, refer it to finance. Under discussion, recognizing Counselor Bartley.
Yes, I'm just gonna make a motion to just approve this order, if I may.
Do you want to send it over to the
Second.
finance
Send it over
committee so we can
finance,
have the
yes.
meeting? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and just under discussion.
Yes, sir.
So I did review this audit report, and there were one or two questions I had. First of all, I've written numerous audits in my life, numerous, probably 100 plus. And I've always said one audit result is a lot. When you've got double-digit audit results, that is nothing to be proud of, regardless of the fact that they may or may not say they comply. One item struck me, though, Mr. President, in the city's response to item number 6, where regarding the sewer fund, when the city's response says, accordingly, we would like to fund those upgrades by imposing a new storm done in other communities. This recommendation is currently being reviewed by the city council. I don't recall, Mr. President, a recommendation from anyone, anytime, or what it is, on any recommendation for a stormwater fee. So, as a point of order, is there a recommendation before us for a stormwater fee?
I believe there's a standing invitation please file the proposal. And that has yet to be filed.
So
To my
does any
knowledge,
counselor know of any?
no one has filed a proposal
Nothing
to
filed.
create a stormwater fee with the, we've heard all these different numbers about 50 for a residence and so much for this one and that one, but
Now,
nothing has actually been filed. I know we have the mayor's package on blighted buildings, but we do not have the package on the stormwater fee.
Now, is that a material misstatement? I'm not going to judge whether that's a material misstatement. I just know that's what is written in the city's response by our city auditor, who, by the way, just so you know, this is not a ta-da. I called the auditor last Thursday and have not had, to this date, the pleasure of a reply. The gentleman, to my knowledge, doesn't have an email. At least it just says Smith B. at Holyoke, so it's Brian. So I don't know Mr. Schmidt's email, but I did call him and leave a message. Haven't had a call yet. So I would have loved to have this discussion with him on a telephone, but since he doesn't give me the courtesy of a call, we have the discussion here in absentia. So hopefully we'll have the discussion with Mr. Schmidt, and he can explain to me what this means, among other things in here, which we'll get into that when we meet in finance. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Counselor Bacon?
And I would just note that the only thing that we do have before us relative to the stormwater fee is two petitions signed by over 100 people in opposition to it, based on the understanding that the mayor built the budget, including it in the budget. But there is nothing official before us other than that petition. And that will be heard on the 14th at 6:30, open to the public on that matter at Finance Committee.
As required under the charter.
Correct, required under the charter in response to the petition.
Okay, so counselors, just so we know where we're at procedurally, we have item number 5 in front of us, as well as the order number 38. Motion on the floor currently is to receive both of these two items and refer it to the Finance Committee. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 6. Item number 6 comes to us from Mr. Schmidt, and this is a letter regarding a new revolving fund. He is requesting a establishment to house the expenses and revenues for 2 school resource officers as requested by the Hoyoke Public Schools.
Send
And,
to finance, please.
yep, this communication, motion on the floor has been made. Is there a second? Second to receive this communication number 6 and refer it over to the Finance Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 7. Item number 7 comes to us also from Mr. Schmidt. This is a letter regarding the auditor governance letter. This is the governance letter issued by Melanson Heath related to the fiscal year 2014 audit. In summary, the auditors found no information they believe to be a material misstatement of fact.
Be received and
Sent to finance.
finance.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive item number 7
And send finance.
and send to finance for review. Okay? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 8, this comes to us from Damian Cody. He's the building commissioner, as you know. And this is a letter regarding a 12-month progress report regarding his department. And it's about about 4 or 5 pages long. And hopefully folks have this in their packets. If not, then we would probably be good if we could get this scanned in and made copies of for everyone. Is there a motion?
To receive and make sure that the body has copies.
Okay. What, I'm sorry?
They're on the desk.
Oh, there's on everybody's, okay, great, all right. So motion on the floor is to have it received. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 9 is a communication from Mr. O'Connor, Joe O'Connor, to be precise. And as you know, he is the chairman of the Section 19 Committee. He represents the Hoyoke Fire Department, and this letter is regarding an analysis of the 4 health insurance brokerage firms vying for the right to represent the city in negotiations.
Receive, sent to finance.
To be more clear, this is, as you know, we have a new ordinance on the books that this city council passed that requires a open competitive process for the selection now of broker of record. And these 4 firms were reviewed by the Section 19 committee. Although we did not, they gave the pros and cons of each one. They didn't give a specific, like, this is the one we pick. And now this recommendation, this set of recommendations goes to the mayor. He has to then select one, and then it will come back to the city council for final approval of yes or no to whichever one he selected. Okay? So motion on the floor right now is to receive, refer over to the finance committee. And I am told by the powers that be in room 1 that this selection will be soon, so that the person can take, this agency or the broker of record will take effect for 1/1/2016. Okay? All in favor of referring to finance?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 10. Item number 10 comes to us from the Board of Health.
Make a motion to take
11.
number 10 through 15.
Okay? Motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to take items 10 through 15 as a package.
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, here we go. Item number 10, Board of Health minutes of June 11th, July 8th, and September 10th. Item number 11 is the Board of Fire Commission minutes from August 5th. Item number 12 comes to us from Conservation, and that's the minutes of March 12, March 26, April 23, May 14, May 28, June 11, July 9, and July 30. Number 13 comes to us is the minutes of August 3rd and August 31st for the Board of Public Works. Item number 14 is for those same dates from the Sewer Commission, and item number 15 is for those same dates, and that's from the Stormwater Authority. And motion on the floor is to receive all of these items. Is there a second?
Mr. President?
Yes, second. Under discussion, Councilor Bresnahan.
Thank you. I would just like to point out that it's very difficult for us to, I mean, the minutes we get these the day of our meeting. I mean, some of these minutes are from June and July. I mean, we're basically in October, and, you know, it's very, you know, we're just kind of saying, okay, here are the minutes, thanks very much, and we put them in the pile. It'd be nice if we could have some sort of discussion with department heads. I mean, these minutes are getting approved. These are monthly meetings that they're having. I mean, it'd be nice to get them in our packet, so we have a weekend to review them and have questions for department heads. I mean, it's just like, we do this with every minutes that we ever get. We just say, receive, thank you very much.
It's a very good point. I'll work with Ryan to see if we can't send out a reminder memo that we would like them, say, at least a week before the council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Otherwise, they can wait until the next meeting, so you have an opportunity to review and give meaningful commentary.
Thank you, Mr.
It's a
President.
good point. Any other thoughts on this? If not, all in favor of receiving these items?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Brings us now to petitions. Petitions, item number 16, petition of Ann O'Leary of 208 Huron Avenue. She seeks a renewal of her home occupation permit for a real estate sales business.
Can we suspend the rules and take up 17 and 18 along with that renewal, as the other two are renewals?
Okay? Motion has been made and seconded to suspend the rules to take up items 16, 17, and 18 as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 17 is a petition of Elizabeth Zelmer, of 601 Northampton Street. She seeks a renewal of her home occupation to provide piano lessons. Item number 18 is a petition of Manuel Contin he seeks a renewal of his livery license, and he's located at 219 Elm Street. So let me just go through these briefly to just say everybody's up to snuff on their taxes and otherwise. Ms. O'Leary's all set. Ms. Zelmer's all set. Mr. Contin's all set as well.
Great, thank you.
So, motion on the floor would be in order to adopt and to approve all of these.
To receive and approve all the renewals, please.
Okay?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive these petitions and to grant the renewals. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of granting the renewals for these three individuals. A no vote is to deny.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee. Yes. McGivern.
Yes.
Soto. Yes. Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Bartley. Bresnahan.
Yes.
Shatna. Greenie.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Unanimous vote of the body.
By your unanimous vote, you have approved the renewals for those three individuals. This now brings us to item number 19. Item number 19 is a petition of Emil Schlegel. He is seeking a new zone change for the parcel at 161 Lower Westfield Road from IG to IP.
Receive, send to ordinance.
Okay,
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to the ordinance committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 20 is a petition of Robert Everett. He's located at 1065 Hamden Street. He has a non-conforming use for a reconstruction and alteration, and he is seeking a special permit for this non-conforming use. And I believe the purpose here is something to do with a garage.
Yeah, Mr. President?
I believe that's right.
Yeah, we all received an email from him yesterday. They're looking to replace an existing 80-year-old garage.
Okay. So that's the proposal from Mr. Everett. And DGNR, or we
It's
send in this
DGR
to
these
ordinance?
days.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it,
DGNR?
I think so.
Okay.
all right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Motion on the floor has been made and seconded to
Good on.
receive and refer to the Development and
structure,
Government
not the whole
Relations Committee.
Things still
Any
look bad.
discussion?
President, is it a special permit?
It is a special permit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Bresnahan?
Through the chair, or through the president, is Mr. McGivern talking about the ridiculousness of the special permit, or is it going to the wrong committee for a special permit?
I am giving up mind reading as one of my skills. We have a good sense of each other's thinking, but I'll let Counselor McGivern speak for himself if he wishes by his question. But I think he just was inquiring of whether or not it was a special permit or not. In fact, it is. And at the moment, it's the DGNR committee, unless someone suggests otherwise. Hearing nothing, all in favor of DGNR?
Aye.
Opposed? That's where it is. That now brings us to the president's report. Even a few things for you.
Oh, good.
Certainly want to live up to your expectations.
Favorite part.
Okay, a couple things, ladies and gents. First was, I received a very nice letter from Patricia McNulty. She's the corresponding secretary of the Holyoke Golden Senior Club. And the Holyoke Golden Senior Club is requesting the honor of your presence on October 14th, 2015 at the Senior Center at 1 o'clock. That's the 14th at 1 o'clock. She's also going to be inviting candidates as well for public office to give, your thoughts about being a city councilor, why you should or perhaps should not be reelected, what the candidates have to say on things. And so they're going to be having a forum at the Senior Center October 14th, 1 o'clock. So try and make it if you can. I also wanted to bring to your attention that recently I was notified by Representative Vega as well as Senator Humison that His Excellency the Governor has recently approved and adopted 4 of our special acts that we recently had passed here at City Council. And these items will now be going to the ballot for the public to vote on. One is an act establishing a 4-year term for the office of City Councilor. One is an act establishing a 4-year term for the office of Mayor. The other is an act establishing an appointed treasurer. And lastly is an act reducing the size of the City Council. As you'll recall, all 4 of these items will be binding ballot questions. If they are adopted by the electorate, then they will happen. If they are defeated, then that will be the end of them. And just remembering on that council size reduction, that is to reduce the at-large field from 8 to 6. So that will be what is on the ballot, okay? And those did pass by the governor, and so that long and arduous process is now finally complete, and we'll have that on November 3rd for people to vote on, and it's up to them. Great. The next thing I wanted to mention to councilors is that the Holyoke Fire Department, Local 1693, has invited all of you, to the retirement party of a number of their retiring officers, one of whom is Lieutenant Eugene Doobie, Private Larry Jackson, Private Ron DeRoy, Private Anthony Gazda, Private Terrence Leary, and Private Thomas Kennedy. That event will be occurring a week from Friday, October 16th, over at the warehouse. Doors open at 6, dinner at 7. Okay, so you were invited to that event as well. And we do have proclamations on behalf of the city council to all of those honorees.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor.
Yeah, I want my name withdrawn from Mr. Terry Leary, so put that on the record. I don't want my, thank you.
I'll pencil it in at the bottom of the proclamation. Okay. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. This past Sunday, I was able to give a proclamation that we voted on to Via Whiteman from Hoya Country Club. He, as you guys know, he got inducted, or maybe you don't know, he got inducted to the Western Mass Golfers Hall of Fame for 30 years of being a golf professional at Hoya Country Club. His whole family was there. They flew out from Utah. He has a beautiful, huge family, and they're still doing wonderful things. But he gave all his credit for everything he has in his life to the city of Holyoke. He said he came here with absolutely nothing. And he kept saying, I didn't even come here with a car. He pulled into a parking lot. I'm like, how do these people afford cars? And he says the city of Holyoke got him a job, a car, said that twice, a wife, and a family. And so he owes everything that he has to the city of Holyoke. So I thought I'd pass that along to you guys.
Oh, very nice.
Very
Well,
nice. Thank you.
Very worthy recipient. Thank you for doing that for us, Jim. We really appreciate it. The other thing I wanted to give you all an update on is regarding our meetings being televised, as you know, and I'm sure you've heard it because I've certainly gotten 2 earfuls, is about the poor reception at, for our council meetings. And I want you to know I continue to follow up. I was again on the phone with Rory Casey in the mayor's office today about, our frustration about, how poor the reception is. They're trying to make a number of tweaks. Originally game plan number 1 was that this was supposed to be done over the summer at our summer recess. But I guess it's quite more extensive than they thought in terms of there's this whole loop between all the city buildings in terms of a number of the schools, and fire stations and other municipal buildings, and City Hall has been completely rewired, but the circuit that it's on is still not yet complete that they need to do, and that I'm told is another month. So most unfortunate in terms of continuing with poor reception, and we do apologize to the people at home. It's really circumstances beyond our control. We're really at the mercy of Comcast, who's doing this work to make this happen. I will say that one intermediary step was that there's a feed that goes into the website. I have a bit of a cold, excuse me. The feed into the website is a better feed than what we have is the regular on-air broadcast going on Channel 15. So they're trying to switch the two, and they said that would be an improved band width and a better reception. So hopefully, I had asked that they did that for this evening, if they could pull it off. So we'll see. Maybe we're a little better shape. But hopefully, this will be resolved very soon. I know Ryan has been very, very helpful, and him and I have been, twisting arms to get this done. So just so you know, it is a very much of a priority for us. All right. Now moving on to reports of committees.
Mr. President, go ahead.
Okay, Councilor Valentin.
I just thought of this as you were wrapping up your report. Just really, I know most of us were at that candidate forum last night.
Yes.
So I really just want to publicly acknowledge the great work of the Holyoke Youth Commission in putting together the candidate forum last night. Most of us were there. It was a great experience. And again, just a great reminder of the powerful, amazing work that our youth do. And they're actually doing part 2 tomorrow.
Yep.
With the mayoral candidates at 6 o'clock. So,
And the school committee.
And treasurer.
yes, treasurer, mayor, and school committee, 6 o'clock senior center. And I think it's also a reminder that, before I was here, my predecessor actually introduced the legislation for having that youth representative as part of our body as a non-voting member. And
It's one of our rules. It's actually in the rules.
and so yes, correct. And so I think we really need to kind of keep up with that and make sure that we make that happen. So I'm just speaking on my behalf, but just wanted to publicly acknowledge their work. Thank you.
Yeah, they did a great job, and I was
They
really
really
also
did.
impressed with the.
Very well
the-
organized.
Very well
Very well.
organized, a great turnout. Mike Hines, ever faithful with the camera, you know, he'll get that out there, and so folks can have an opportunity to see everybody's remarks, which I thought everybody did a great job. It was really well done. Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. All right.
And Mr. President?
Counselor Lisi.
So we are not going to have any ordinance committee reports this week, but I do want to point out that the ordinance committee had met twice for the previous 2 weeks, and we're just waiting on measurements from our new city engineer that we've hired so that we could put those measurements into legal form for.
The name?
Oh, yes, the name of our new city engineer, his name is Yem Lip. He comes to us from, he lives in South Hadley, but he came to us from the engineering department in Long Meadow.
Okay. Counselor
I
LeBeau.
just want to take a moment to share with you all about a loss we had in the city of Mr. Vilhelmina Perez, who was a very civic leader who worked tremendously in our mobilizing, organizing the Latino community and those who were interested in getting registered to vote through the Neighbor to Neighbor organization where she worked for several years. And I just wanted to, let you all know, which there's a proclamation tonight in regards to recognizing her hard work and acknowledging her. Thank you.
Yeah, she was a wonderful woman. Thank you for pointing that out. Counselor Graney.
Yeah, Mr. President, has anybody ever spoken to Mike Hines about our dilemma here with the PA system and reaching the families at home? Because he's a wizard with that type of stuff. I know he does very good work. I don't know if he freelances at all. He might be able to help us out.
It's a little bit above Mike's pay grade in terms of that. It's really a hardware problem. Mike, he's like a MacGyver, you're right, type of person, but at the same time, this is really outside City Hall. It's this big looped network that they have, and they've got a sundry of material weaknesses in it, and it would be way beyond what Mike could do, unfortunately. In fairness to him,
Just a thought.
Yeah, but no, I appreciate that. Yep. So supposedly, crew. The problem is they were disorganized, Howie, to be honest with you, okay? They only started the work 6 weeks ago.
Oh, it's-
All right, and it was supposed to be being done over the whole summer, so we'll just we'll just leave it at that. All right? So this is taking longer than it was supposed to. All right. We have no ordinance committee reports this evening, as was alluded to a moment ago. We also have no finance or public safety committee reports for this particular meeting. I know finance is meeting on the 14th. And public safety, do we have a?
Not set yet.
Okay, very good. So now that brings us to public service, and on public service, we have a few committee reports here this evening. First up is 24A. The Committee on Public Service, to whom was referred a mayoral appointment of Mr. Marco Crescentini to the Fairfield Avenue Historic District Commission, have considered the same, recommend that the appointment be confirmed. Councilors Tallman, McGivern, and Valentin. Under discussion, you have a motion?
Motion to receive and
Council President.
adopt. Committee report?
Okay, motion.
Second.
Second to receive and adopt?
Yeah.
All right. You're gonna take, who's
Well,
gonna
he's
take?
going to take it, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna take it, yeah.
All right, Council President, I thought so.
That's why I was just gonna. Thank you, and great pronunciation on his name, Mr. President.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Now, great guy, came in, he's got his master's degree in architecture, he's got his bachelor's in architecture, his master's degree in architecture. Moved here in December of last year, bought a house on the historic avenue of Fairfield Street, and just wants to get involved. He's been going to meetings since January. Very in tune with architecture and historical things, and also had the common sense knowledge of just because things might be old doesn't make them actually historic, which was nice to hear, was refreshing. So he's been going for a while. He's a senior project architect at a local company in Springfield, and he wants to get involved with the city. He's a new Holyoke guy. He wants to get involved, and we had a good 15-20-minute discussion. It was a unanimous decision to send him through. So we're hopeful we can get a full body to move on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Councilor McGivern.
Just add one thing to the chairman. One of the things he did say, and I think it's important, is the understanding that there are affordability issues when you're dealing with someone who wants to renovate a house. And certainly what the Fairfield District is about is important, but he also is going to be flexible in terms of affordability. His example was, if someone has a slate roof that needs to be replaced, the owner may not be able to afford it, but a roof should go on.
Councilor Tallman.
Just to add to that, he was an incredible candidate, and, bringing the people that have been coming in before us are really people that are qualified, people that come from different parts of the world. I guess he was actually born in Italy and worked in Richmond, Virginia for a number of years, and really well qualified. And what really impressed me is that actually he was working on the going to meetings before it even started. So for the past, maybe 6 months, he was actually going to meetings just to get a feel for it, and he's going to be a great addition to this group.
Councilor Bresnahan.
Just one, this is no reflection upon him, but one of the questions that had come up, I think, in committee was that we have to be sure that we're not, we're getting some sort of resignation letter or something, and the topic was broached upon us as counselors, but obviously he was not aware of it. But, when we're appointing and going through the process of having new board members to any commission or any board, it would be nice to have either a resignation letter or know that that person's term has been replaced. There's a couple vacancies on that board, so, but we still, our committee, we pushed it through, we approved it anyways because he's well-versed in this field. We're comfortable with that, but we'd just like to make note that, our committee would like to get notices that, people are either retiring, resigning, or their term is up.
And I would ask the clerk if she could help us police that as you see appointments coming in, just giving friendly reminders to the executive office that we would like to see who they're replacing in the nomination letter. Okay. Anything else? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting the committee report?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 24B. Item number 24B is a report from the Committee on Public Service, to whom was referred an order that the department responsible for parking meter services come before the appropriate committee to explain why so many parking meters are out of service and patrons parking on them are being ticketed. Recommend that the order has been complied with. Councilors Tallman, McGivern, and Valentin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Receive and adopt the committee report, please.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and adopt the committee report. Under discussion, the chairman, Councilor Bresnahan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bill Fuqua was kind enough to join us this evening to talk about a couple things. This was one of them. When they signed up the valet group that's now in charge of the parking garages and the meters, one of their main challenges and focus was to hone in on these parking meters. The problem is, and I'm going to say the company's name a few times because we're public, the problem is that we are getting no response from the manufacturer of the meters, who we have been working with for over 20 years. Their name is Duncan Technical International. They're worldwide, and the meters cost about $500. The problem is that there's a computer chip inside the meter that is not functioning correctly. And we have called them and asked that they come and send us this microchip to fix it. Bill has asserted to the fact that he himself has been calling on a daily basis. They're in California, so there's a bit of a time lapse that Bill's got to adjust to. He's got to remind himself to do it. But he's inferring that the valet company that is in charge of these locally and himself has been bothering this company for months and months to get these red bags off the meters. What they've done in the interim is that they've taken some of the busy meters that are, some of the good meters that are working on the non-busy areas of the city of Holyoke and are relocating them to the more busy areas and then putting bags on the meters that don't get a lot of business. He continues to pressure these guys to get the stuff in. Again, it's a Duncan Technical International out of California. And he's hoping that he's got two choices. One, they're going to respond to him by the time snow falls, or he has set aside some monies to actually physically and go buy new meters, not from the same company. So Bill's well aware of it. He also said will be working due to one of the members requesting a spreadsheet that has it by how much money is coming in by month, by year, for however long you want. It's on a spreadsheet. He'd be happy to provide it, and we asked him to do that, and I will remind him about that. see, so no, that's about it. He's hoping that the winter that they're gonna be done. And so he's on it, and if we don't have any action by the end of this year, which I doubt, because Bill's pretty good about his work, we will certainly refile this motion, or this order, and see what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Counselor McGivern?
When this was brought to my attention, and I thank Councilor Brown Martinez for filing the order, I drove around after work one day and counted 24 bags on meters. The issue being, in certain parts of downtown, the bag on the meter was being ticketed if someone parked there because the bag says no parking. And that means they were precluding people from parking in certain spots. Now, in the streets on the outskirts of downtown, that's one thing, but you come to High Street, you come to Maple Street in this 4-block area, these parking spaces are taken up the entire day. So therefore, you put a couple of red bags up, and you're stopping a potential customer from pulling over and going into a business. And I said, as much as I understand Bill didn't want to lose the revenue, I think he agreed with us that losing the customer is more important to the person who has a business downtown. Unfortunately, we also learned that the 24 bags that are out on, I think he said 25, are out in the meters, are just the tip of the iceberg. There's an additional 19 meters that are just out of service with no bags on them. Danny did a good job of telling us the sad story, and I hope that vendor was listening, because it's time to make up our minds and to go with someone different if he cannot fix the existing meters.
Did he give us a number of about approximately how many total meters we have out there? 300 and something?
How many were broke? Like 40 were not working?
43.
43 were malfunctioning.
So we're over 10% are not working. Interesting. Counselor LeBron Martinez?
Yeah, I just want to thank the committee for taking this order up and actually clearing it to the public who's probably watching or listening. It's been brought, as you all heard, was brought to my attention by consumers and individuals who are coming to the city. So just so you know, thank you.
Okay, Counselor.
Thank you. Did Bill indicate that having no response to the repairs or the replacement of the meters was a violation of the contract that we have with this company? Because what I heard was that he's setting aside money to buy and replace the meters, but I feel like this has got to be in some way their responsibility per the terms of our contract. And so I'd be really interested to see how we could have that company reimburse us for the replacement if they're not going to do it themselves.
What I can answer to that is that we have a contract with the company of Valet Parking that handles the meters, that, collects the money out of the meters, makes sure that the garages are functioning. This company that produces the meters, I don't think we have a contract with. I think this is the company that produces parking meters. And this is the company that we've worked with and bought company meters off for years. I don't believe there's a contract in place. I'd be happy to contact Bill and ask him, but the contract that we have is with the Valet Parking Company that basically just takes the money out of the meters. They have no abilities to fix.
The servicing of the meters.
The servicing of the meters is not their forte, so to speak. But I will ask Bill, and I'll certainly let the body know.
And presumably they're under no warranty because we've had them for so long at this
Correct.
stage.
It's like the streetlights.
Yeah. Counselor Tomlin.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was an interesting meeting, and we really grilled Bill about the parking, because I was down here a couple of weeks ago, and I signed down with Councilor LeBron Martinez because the people were actually putting money into the meters. They weren't going in there. The money was it was jammed, and then they tried to park in another meter, and it said out of order. So my thing with Bill is, to try to get people to park in the parking decks too. I mean, people want to park right in front where they're going to go, but if they can park, 50 feet away in the deck, and I think it's 25 cents an hour, it's really reasonable to do that. And I also asked them for the spreadsheet if we could find out how much money is actually made, through monthly collections on the meters. And he said they'd get that information for us, because I think that's important too to know. Because he said it did drop off for a while, with the meters, and then hopefully it comes back, because that's the revenue we're counting on to pay for the contract.
Yep. Thank you.
And the bond on the $7.5 million that we elected to spend on a garage with faulty concrete. We have to pay that, unless we forget, right? Yeah. Supervisor Martinez.
Yes, a suggestion, maybe when these meters are out of service, putting like some sort of a sticker. There could be people who really are not from the area coming into town and using, the street parking, letting them know that parking is available so we can promote it even more. Just a thought. Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, all in favor that this order has been complied with and adopting the committee report?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. 24C. 24C is a report from the Committee on Public Service, to whom was we referred an order that the mayor, acting treasurer, superintendent of public works, and the park and rec director come before the Public Service Committee to discuss the delay in bonding and renovation to the Jones Point tennis courts. Have considered the same, recommend that the order's been complied with. Councilors Tallman, McGivern, and Valentin.
Receive and adopt the order.
Okay,
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to receive and adopt the committee report. Under discussion, Councilor Bresnahan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had asked, or the folks that had filed this order had asked for multiple representatives of the city government to come in and kind of discuss this issue. I had personally reached out to the mayor's office and let him know that, I knew it was a busy schedule. If he wanted to put something in writing, he could certainly let us know his thoughts. The only folks that responded was, again, Bill Fuqua, who was there, and the Parks and Rec director, Terry Shepard, responded via in writing saying she was unable to attend and asked for some more. She couldn't make the meeting, and she asked, there was another order, so she asked for a little direction on that, which was tabled. Bill Fuqua was a class act. He could have certainly pointed fingers and blamed people as to why this all went down the way it did and why there's been a delay, but he's basically said that July 1st, the money for this bond has been cleared. There's a committee that has been formed, which is the Parks and Rec, the AD director, and the Blue Sox owner. Councilor McGivern, and I'll certainly let him speak to this, was quick enough to suggest that a member of the city council get on this committee as well to review this. They are planning on actively beginning the work. And so they're hoping, and it's a huge project. It's multiple fields, Roberts Field, Crozier Field, new tennis courts at Crozier Field. There was an extensive delay on the approval. The ball was dropped. But again, I believe those folks no longer are employed by the city of Holyoke, and Bill, of course, is not the type of guy to point fingers and blame people. He took the bull on by the horns and said, the money's been approved, we're moving forward, and this should all be done, by the end of next year. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for volunteering to be also our representative on that committee. We appreciate that. That was good of you.
My committee? Oh, no.
Took you a second to pick up on that.
Kevin,
Councilor Leahy.
I would like to volunteer for that committee.
Would you?
That's my order.
There you go, Joe.
Anybody else? Any other nominees? You're hereby appointed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good job, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate that. And Jim, of course, was one of the leaders and
Yes, he was.
and on the
Sponsored on
in
it.
particular with the Jones Point tennis court. So if you can keep an eye on that for us, we'd appreciate it. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I just want to state that Bill also stated with the amount of work that's done in these various fields that it's going to take a little bit of juggling with the different sports teams. You got the spring, you got the fall, and it's not going to be an easy task. And they're looking at that right now. You got the hockey, you got field hockey, you got soccer, you got baseball, you got track. So it's going to be a difficult thing, but they're trying to work it out where the sports teams and the different groups that use these fields won't be affected in an adverse way. So hopefully, with the team and with our Councilor Leahy on there, I'm glad he's on there, to look at that the things will try to go as best they can. That's what Bill stated, so.
Great. Anybody else? Councilor
And
Bartley.
just so we remember, Danny and I filed an order some time ago to ensure that there are opportunities for the public to review engineering plans. So I've been in discussion with Bill, offline for months and months on this. So we know why it was delayed. We're all aware, but that's behind us now. And to my knowledge, the engineers are have it. They're working on it, and we're going to have something hopefully this year to present to the public, and we'll proceed accordingly.
Very good.
Mr. President,
Councilor Bresnahan.
we're hoping for spring construction. That's what he's aiming for. And I just would also like to point out, since we're talking about the Parks and Rec, just so we're all aware, there's 6 employees in the Parks and Rec department that actually working on over 42 fields. So they're not heavily staffed, and this includes John Tuig is also the forest, there's one guy cutting down trees, and then there's 5 guys and him making sure that all the benches, the grass is clean, and, it's all maintained, so we should think about, when we want the Parks and Rec safe and secure and maintained, we got 5 guys plus a forester working on over 42 parks within the city. So it's just something to think about when we, start talking about increasing positions and making positions and creating positions. It's a reality that it's very difficult. These guys have to take time off and they get sick and they got vacation. So just so everybody knows, thank you.
Counselor Tallman.
Just one thing I just remembered is the field house at McKenzie Stadium. Bill stated that they're going to take that down and make something, more sort of smaller, but something that'll be utilized there. So more than likely that building will be coming down during that
news.
project. Yeah, because it's in really terrible shape. So I just.
Yeah, well, we get conflicting stories.
That's what he told us, so.
Well, that was that night. We've
Yeah.
heard other nights it's being reconstructed, so, Counselor McGee.
Yeah, I filed the order on that too, because we kept hearing different stories. One was they're gonna fix it, and now they're gonna tear it down. Are they putting something back?
They're going to put something back there, but something small. That's what he said. Yeah.
With bathrooms and everything
Yeah,
else?
yeah.
Because it's an interesting report. If you go online, the Blue Sox, the attendance, they're number 2 for the league. You have close to 31,000 people attending those games. That's 31,000 people, whether residents are coming out of town, to see those games.
Mm-hmm.
That's significant.
Yeah, I agree.
That helps
It is.
business, that's taxes and everything else. And I don't want to tear down something, now we don't have bathrooms, and people say, I'm just not going to go to that park, it's not usable. So we need to follow up on it.
We do, because I don't recall when we did that bond that we had it in the budget for to tear that down and put a brand new structure
That's what
there.
he said that night. He said they were going to take it down and put another smaller structure there, but with bathrooms.
That's in the budget.
With concessions.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
with concessions, that's
There was
it.
3 of us there. He did say that, Joe, didn't he?
As long as-
He did, Mr. President.
Yes.
He did, but I think the president's right. When we originally did the bond, it wasn't part of it. It seems to have snuck in. We originally did the bond, I believe the Youth Baseball League still was in control of the building.
That's right.
At the time, and so we just left it out. It'll be interesting to see which Ward 6 counselor gets that building taken care of.
Well, problem is.
I'll take that bet.
Well, it's in Ward 3
in
now, so it
Ward
doesn't
3.
matter. So take that.
Oh, we don't worry about the Ward 3 guy. All right. Very good. Any other thoughts on 24C? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the committee report?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay, item number 25 is the Development and Government Relations Committee reports, starting with number 25A.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I walked in a little bit late. Can you just assume my signature is on all of those? I'll catch up afterwards.
okay, very good, thank you.
And Mr. President, just a point of order, can we take 25A and B as even though there are special permits, can we vote on them together?
You can, as long as you don't mind taking one joint vote on both, and there's no objection.
I'll make the motion.
It's just that if you
Second.
vote for one, you're voting for the other, or you deny both, it's a
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
for-
that's fine. All right, motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to take up 25A and 25B as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Okay, great. Those are a package. Let me just go through those. 25A is an application for a special permit for a motor vehicle repair garage to be located at 395 Maple Street for Mr. Alfonso Woods. Recommended that the application be approved, designating 15 spaces for sales, 3 spaces for repair, and 1 service bay. Okay, that's 25A. 25B was referred, excuse me, an application for a special permit for outdoor sales lots for new and used motor vehicles and trucks and marine and recreational vehicle establishment. Said lot is located in a BH, IG, or BE district. Recommend that the application be approved, designated 15 spaces for sales, 3 spaces for repair, and 1 service bay. And this is signed off for approval by all 5 members of the Development and Government Relations Committee.
And the motion is to adopt the receive and adopt the committee report and approve this grant of special permits
For both, okay.
for both.
All right.
Second.
Motion has been made to receive the two committee reports, to adopt the recommendation of the committee, and grant the special permits for both of 25A and 25B. That has been seconded. Under discussion, Counselor Bartley.
Very briefly, we had the applicant, his son, on the 14th of September, the 28th of September. Committee did a, tremendous work with the applicants. Really want to thank the clerk's office who really helped them along, so Brenna's office should be credited for that. But the committee really, worked real hard. Those two meetings, they're public hearings. There was no opposition. This is kind of a continuation of grandfather, if you will, of a business that went out of business, and now these guys want to kind of get something going again at the same location. So they did a lot of work after the hearing on the 14th. They came back on the 28th, had everything lined a little bit, and now they're good to go. And so hopefully we can approve this tonight. Thank you.
Counselor Soto.
Mr. President, thank you. And again, I thank the gentleman for coming forward and wanting to do business in City of Holyoke. I only have one question, though, is regarding the spaces. That included the handicap space, or was that required, or?
No.
Okay.
Is that, can I?
Go ahead, Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what Counselor Soto's referred to exactly, but the plans that they designed, Anthony, met the requirements of the city ordinances as far as parking for cars for sale, parking for employees, and parking for customers. And really, Gordon, Joe, Josie, Gladys, really pitched in hard to make it kind of work. So I don't recall anything about a handicap spot.
Okay.
Now, I'll stand corrected on that if necessary, but I just don't recall it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Alexander.
Thanks. Just a couple of points of clarification. It was a really good application. We went through a whole bunch of different things about it, and we're, I think, very comfortable that it met all the requirements. These are a little bit new to DGR. These sat in ordinance until recently. This is a very common situation where somebody is both repairing and selling cars on the same property. And there are two separate things going on. One is you bring in cars to sell them, they oftentimes need repair. That's included under the sales permit. That's not a separate business. Then secondly, if you want to repair cars of, just people coming in, hi, can you fix my car, please, for a fee, that's a separate business, requires a separate permit. So that's what these two permits are. It's not about repairing the cars they're going to sell. It's about repairing cars for other people in addition to repairing the cars they're going to sell. Oftentimes, because the two things are happening on the same property, we have to make sure there's enough parking for the two separate businesses in combination. The purpose of the parking requirements in these kinds of permits is not to provide a maximum, it's to provide a minimum. And I just want to make this really, really clear. The goal of the ordinance is to make sure that there's enough parking on site that the owner of the business isn't having to park cars on the street in between doing repairs or, park cars on the street that are for sale or anything like that. It has to all be contained within the property. So there's a minimum requirement of spaces for the cars you're planning on selling. They obviously take up one space each. For if you're doing repairs, the presumption is it doesn't take all day to repair a car, so you need some place to queue up the cars you're gonna fix. So you need a few spaces per repair bay, and then you need a couple of spaces for employees, and it's slightly less than the number of employees. In this case, the property met more than the requirement, which again, it's a minimum. So we were happy to see there's more than the requirement there. And that is separate from eventually when they go before the License Commission and ask for their license for doing repairs. That entity will set a maximum of the number of cars you can fix on the property and the number of cars you can sell on the property to make sure the max number of cars allowed is smaller than the minimum number of spaces we required at this end. Okay? So it all kind of ties together. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor McGivern.
Now, if you didn't follow that, there is a map that comes with the petition. I think it
With
should
arrows
go
and
without
pointy
saying that
things.
We did tweak that map, and it's important that that map is intact and given to the enforcement agent of the city so that they can follow it, and we're all on the same page. I agree with the previous speakers, though. What we're trying to do is, one, keep cars off the street in terms of of parking, but also not to have cluttered lots. This is two businesses. Also note that the owner of the property works out of an office in that building, but does nothing on site in terms of his business, which deals with the cars that you get at the auction, wholesaling cars. But it's workable. They're two great gentlemen, and I think we got to continue to try to work with these. The DGR committee is very efficient when they handle these now. They get them in and out in a half an hour. Just want to note that we don't have those 4-hour meetings like other
Like a
committees.
drive-through. That's a pro-business drive-through over there.
Here we go.
Oh, my God. We have a takeout window over here for special permits.
Mr. President,
Sign me up.
Counselor Graney.
I'd like to move the question, please.
Second.
All right.
Howie, send me a wet blanket.
Having no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting the committee report on both of these and granting the special permit for both 25A and 25B. A no vote is to deny both.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee, McGivern, Soto,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentine,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Shatna,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Unanimous vote of the body.
By your vote, you've granted the two special permits, 25A, 25B. Brings us now to 25C. 25C is from the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred an order that the City Council, in accordance with Section 2-349 in the Code of Ordinances, vote to approve a list of properties for auction as previously communicated to the City Council by the Acting Treasurer on August the 4th, 2015. Have considered the same, recommend that the order be adopted. Councilors Bartley, McGivern, Alexander, LeBron, Martinez, and Valentine.
Motion to receive and adopt the committee report.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive the committee report and adopt. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, so we had Acting Treasurer Sandy Smith come before us, and this was if you recall, we had a list of 17 properties for Councilor Bresnahan's benefit. I will not list them, but scattered throughout the community. You may recall, Mr. President, that the Treasurer's Office did have a auction. There were previously several properties that did not sell at that auction. Those properties are eligible to be added to a future auction date to be determined. Now, that's the question mark, is when is Ms. Smith going to schedule it? She indicated December as a possibility. Didn't really give a firm date. She said it might be January as well. So that's kind of where we are at this point. So this is just an opportunity the committee felt, and there was some very good discussion on it and what the properties were and the value and the locations and all that. Whether there were structures on the property. Ms. Smith was prepared to address all these, and she addressed us sufficiently. And so the feeling of the committee was, let's try to get these properties into off the city's rolls and into private hands so that we can start generating revenue. Thank you.
I want to give kudos to the city departments at my request to get 32 Greenwood Avenue on there. That's been a real eyesore for the neighborhood, and I'm glad to see 32 Greenwood Avenue on the list to be auctioned, and we're going to have movement on that property. That's great. Any other discussion? Councilor McGivern.
Sandy Smith did a great job of answering our questions and presenting the list, and I think the review was important to make sure that there were no exceptions on the list. I think it goes without saying that we all agree what we want to do is get these properties back on the tax roll, make them part of the private sector again, and certainly reap from the benefits of whatever the new owners will do with the properties. The way the process works is any property taken in tax title has to be presented to this body, and this body has to allow or designate which ones can go up for auction. The reason being is there's a second way to sell property, and that's 30B, which is initiated through the mayor's office. And sometimes it's more practical to go through 30B, or more important to go through 30B if we're looking for a specific use for a property itself, and the mayor can designate that in his negotiations. As you know, whatever the mayor does still has to come to us for final approval.
Very good. Any other thoughts? All right. All in favor of adopting 25C? I'm going to request that this have a roll call vote on this. The clerk will call the roll on adoption of 25C, agreeing that these all be approved for auction. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee. McGivern,
Yes.
Soto,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Shatnoff,
Yes.
Greenie.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Unanimous vote of the body.
By your vote, you've approved putting out for auction all of those properties listed in 25C.
Mr. President, can we take 25D and suspend the, take D and E as a package?
Second.
Please.
Sure. Okay. Motion on the floor is to take up committee reports 25D and 25E as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. 25D is a report from the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred a special permit application for the approval of a 199-foot new wireless telecommunication facility located inside the floodplain overlay district. Have considered the same, recommend that this be adopted. That comes to us from all 5 members of the DGNR committee. Item number 25E is that the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred an application for Sprint Spectrum LP, Sprint, and co-applicant T-Mobile Northeast LLC, T-Mobile, for approval of a 199-foot new wireless telecommunication facility to be located at 200 Northampton Street, Holyoke. Have considered the same, recommend that the application be approved with the condition that a removal bond be provided in accordance with Ordinance 7-8-10. And that is signed off and approved by all 5 members of the DGNR committee.
So I'm going to motion to receive, adopt the committee report and grant the special permits.
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to receive the committee reports. This is collectively, because we've already agreed to do these together. To adopt the committee reports and to grant the special permits. Under discussion, Counselor Bartley.
I just have to make one more motion, Mr. President. Well, let me just make the motion. Where is it here? That the city of Holyoke be allowed, this is for 25E, the city of Holyoke shall be allowed to co-locate its emergency communication equipment on the tower at the center line of the 155-foot or below mark, and to install the necessary ground equipment pursuant to an agreement with the tower owner. So that's a motion.
We're going to add that as a condition.
Second.
Yes, that's a condition.
Motion on the floor is to add the language offered by Counselor Bartley as a condition to the special permit granting thing. That has been seconded.
Second.
That amendment. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. The proposal stands amended with that condition added. Continuing under discussion, Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. We had 2 very long meetings.
You'll provide that written language to the clerk, correct? Just for our in-house?
Yeah, the city acting city solicitor has,
Just make sure that gets in the final package so that
Yes.
language gets on the permit. Please do. Thank you. Counselor Bartley.
talk about efficiency in government. So I really just want to thank everybody for working real hard on this. We discussed it at length at the last meeting. We've had 2 very lengthy public hearings on this. There was no opposition from the public to this at all. As folks who live out in Smith Ferry or like me, and have a golfer, and you see that smokestack every time you play golf, you're just amazed it's still standing. And so that they've satisfied my interest in that smokestack will be ultimately demolished. The problem being, of course, is that smokestack is 372 feet high, and it had wireless communication on it. Well, that's why Sprint and T-Mobile hired a fine attorney from Rhode Island. He came in with assistants and engineers, and they made a tremendous presentation at 2 different public hearings on the 14th and the 28th. I really want to thank them for their diligence and answering questions and being prepared for the committee, because, there were a lot of questions and a lot of demands and all of that. I know we try to keep it light, but yet, in the committee hearing, but yet, the demands are serious. And they answered all of our questions. So just so the public knows that the Mount Tom coal plant is going away. The building, I don't know what the status of that, but the smokestack is going away. In its stead, to the north of that will be constructed a 199-foot tower, basically. And so it's going to not be as, obviously the signal is going to be a little bit different, but that's in the interest of the Sprint users and the T-Mobile users. I mean, I could babble on, but that's enough. I'll let if there's a committee wants to add anything to that they can. But we were very satisfied that they answered all our questions. Also, Kara was really instrumental in pitching in kind of behind the scenes with their attorney and their assistants to get us this to this point as well. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. Just two quick points of clarification. One is for the public. The design of the new tower it's a monopole tower. It's a self-supporting single stalk tower, so it's like basically a pencil standing there, 200 feet tall instead of the 375 feet that the smokestack is. So it's roughly half the height and much smaller. No guy wires, no external support mechanism at all. It's just freestanding. The other is, just point of clarification, the reason there are two special permits in front of us is because one is to build a telecommunications facility. The other is to build anything at all in the floodplain. So this is part of the floodplain. The old tower was in the floodplain. The new tower will be in the floodplain, so it needs a second permit just for the specific location. That's all. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
We were asked by the law department and agreed, of course, to add that a bond, removal bond be added to the special permit itself. The language itself will be negotiated through the law department, just in case the new tower ever has to come down on quick notice for whatever reason. I also had asked at the first stage of the public hearing if there's any input from the owner or the possibility of what the redevelopment picture is for this very important piece of property to the city. We've lost close to $54 million in value of taxable property. This is not going to replace that. Quite frankly, it's going to be very difficult to replace that with anything other than making it into a gas firing plant, which is cost prohibitive because the only way to get gas there is to come under the Connecticut River itself. There is some talk about a solar field. It's very premature, but the tower would not have any interference or would be in the appropriate location in terms of that type of development. And I think it's a good move. The amendment we talked about briefly this evening that we adopted in committee, it was more at the time we were being asked to force that on the applicant. I think it's a great idea. The applicant's attorneys were reluctant to agree to it. I think the compromise language is that what we're adopting for future is that with an agreement with the owner of the tower, which eventually is going to be the property owner, the owner of the tower can negotiate with the city as far as the emergency equipment goes. And certainly that makes sense for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm. Councilor Bartley, did you want the floor?
Yeah, just the assessor, Tony DeLue, boy, I don't know, I'm blanking his name. Tony came in and really pitched in as well, so he gave us some good information about the assessed value on that, and he all he could do is make an estimate, but he anticipates it being the $200,000 range for the assessed value and probably $8,000 in taxes, something along those lines. Thank you.
All right. I'd be remiss for historical purposes if I didn't mention that the big stack that exists there was actually people years ago that would get lowered down into that stack to actually clean that stack. And my grandfather was one of the people. And when he worked for Dan O'Connell's, that would be one of the people that would do that kind of work. It was pretty amazing. Yeah. When you think of that, there's almost 400 feet, that stack. Pretty interesting work. Braver than I would be.
Very brave.
I'll tell you that. Braver than
very
I would
brave.
So here we have it. We have a recommendation from the committee that this be adopted. These two items are as a package. They're now before us. I believe we've now continued all the conversation, and at this point, we will now go to a vote. The clerk will call the roll, and you'll be voting on these collectively. These are items 25D and 25E as a package. A yes vote would be to adopt both of these. A no vote would be to deny both. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee. Yes. McGivern.
Yes.
Soto,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentine,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan, Shatnoff,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
14 yeas.
By your vote, you've approved the 2 special permits for the applicants. Okay, very good. Now moving, there were no Charter and Rules Committee reports for this particular meeting. We're now moving on to item number 27. Item number 27 is an order introduced by Councilor Vacan that the brush along the fence between Dunninghue School and the apartments at Tokaniki be cleared. Residents find it blocks visibility for children walking to the school or the field, creating a safety concern.
I filed this order because I wasn't sure if it should be referred to parks, schools, or DPW.
Probably DPW, they're in charge of the parks.
Yeah, I would say DPW, I would say would be the.
So to please adopt and refer to
Second.
DPW.
Okay. Motion on the floor has been made and seconded to receive, adopt item number 27, refer to the DPW. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Item number 28 comes to us from Councilors Vacan and Jordan, that the City Council call upon our state delegation to move the home rule petition regarding the collection of sewer fees, which is in the Committee on Third Reading, forward for adoption so that over $700,000 in unpaid sewer fees can be collected.
Mr. President, can that be added to that, too?
Add me to that as
Counselor
well.
Add me
Leahy.
to that too, Mr. President, please.
Yeah. Counselor Leahy, Counselor Soto, McGee,
Graney,
Shatnoff,
Lacey.
Lisi.
all.
Everybody.
Is there anyone
All
who
of
wants
us.
to not
At
be
all.
added?
Yeah, all,
Yeah.
okay. Adding all counselors without objection, adding all counselors as sponsors of this. Just briefly, go ahead, Linda. Why don't
Thank you.
So a motion on the floor is to adopt Counselor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I filed this because I learned what the standing of this was. It's a little ironic that we were able to get our binding ballot questions all through so quickly for November 3rd, and I think we passed this unanimously out of this body well over a year ago. So my understanding of the meaning of this being on third reading means that it has passed through all the initial reviews. There are no outstanding legal concerns as to the viability of this home rule petition. And so the only thing that I could see that could possibly be holding it up would be some kind of politics. And since we are all sitting here at the tax levy ceiling, we're all sitting here having fees thrown out on everything we can think of to bring revenue into the city, it seems like it's time to move on this. And so I'm just hoping that if we can express our unanimous support of this once again, that our state delegation will actually move on it so that we can get the work done.
Hear,
Thank
hear.
you.
Yeah. I'll just add some other factual points. One is, I get feedback saying stuff like, well, why don't we just, not do this and adopt 40N, which is this, the very complex merger of, sewer and water departments and all this, which is, some combination of that. I'm pretty vocal. I'm in favor of merging the two departments. Not necessarily in favor of 40N, which has a pre-canned, that's only a model. That's only not what we should necessarily adopt. This is a no-brainer. This is a complete no-brainer. This is completely non-controversial. Why on earth is this being stuck in committee and we can't get an answer? And when you do inquire, you're given these things like, well, why don't you consider doing 40N or doing these other things? And I hope no one is trying to twist our arm to do something else in lieu of this. The mayor adopted this, the city council adopted this. We send these things to Boston, period. It's like you give the running back the football, and the job is put it in that end zone over there, right? That's how this works. We don't ask the running back to then to say, well, I get to pick what field it goes down, and I decide, well, I only want to run it to the 20-yard line. I don't want to run it all the way to the end zone. This is not an editorial, this is very simple process. Home rule. We've never had a problem with this previously, okay? You give things to other past delegations, you hand them the football, which is, in this case, the analogy is a special act, and they run it through the legislature and it passes, end of story. Now, all of a sudden, you get in this, well, why do you do that? Why don't you do this over here? Thank you, but that's our decision here, and that's the mayor's decision. When we send something through from city government, get it done. That's the bottom line. And the more this is sitting there waiting, we're losing a ton of dough. 700 grand is what this amounts to every year. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And that truck keeps rolling, and we keep losing money. And in the meantime, let's continue to have conversations about merging this and merging that and blah, blah, blah. That's a lot of really complex work. So this is a really simple, no-brain item. Please, legislature, please, delegation, just get it done. Councilor Soto.
That's what we get for having a part-time state rep. Thank you.
Councilor Alexander.
I just want to thank you. I now understand more about football.
Very good. Yes. Councilor McGivern.
I thought you were talking about Eli Manning when he told the back not to score on first and second down.
That could explain why they're, 1-3? Oh, are they 2-2? All right. Councilor Graney.
I don't know if this could happen. Is there any way that this committee or this council could take, somehow publish this in the paper to make it public so that everybody in the city could see it, what's going on?
Well, a member
Because I
of
think that might be
on live
effective if
TV
everybody
right now.
gets after these people.
Yeah, well, it's on the TV, and we do have the media here, so maybe we can get a story going about, we feel very strongly about this, and the mayor was very supportive of our efforts in this, so you can walk and chew gum at the same time. This should be done now, and we can continue to have the conversation of what does the future water and sewer departments look like. But to think we're gonna throw away 700 grand a year waiting to get that done, I mean, that's a very complex with, departments that have strong opinions about a lot of things and how that's gonna be organized, You're not pulling that off the shelf like, buying a piece of software for your computer. Go ahead, Councilor Alexander.
I was just going to say, and especially given that the sewer is being managed by an outsourced company and the
Yeah.
water is completely in-house.
Yeah, exactly.
40N really is difficult to apply to Holyoke right now.
Right.
So
No
let's
question.
move forward on this. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it seems so obvious. Yes, Councilor McGivern.
Just, in the words of a very famous American, road trip.
Yes, road trip, absolutely. Although the last road trip, we still haven't gotten our mileage. I don't know if Kara got hers, but I still haven't gotten mine for the last road trip. But who's counting? $26 parking.
All right, on the motion.
Okay, all in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor
May I
Shednoff.
take up item 29 and 48 as packaged because they're related? No?
I don't think so.
No?
I think we want something different.
Okay,
Okay,
forget it.
forgotten. Item number 29. Introduced by Councilor Vacan, place no overnight parking signs in front of 5 Donnelly Street and across from 5 Donnelly per request of residents.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received a call and was up in the area speaking with residents, and what's been happening is there's an empty home. People from other parts of the city are parking overnight, and there's people unknown to the area hanging around, entering on occasion that empty house, which is not, I guess, technically legally abandoned, because I guess it's owned and I believe the taxes are paid. But nonetheless, it's creating a disturbance and a safety concern. The police were out there and
That's
rousted
that green one on the corner
people.
there.
Yes, on the corner of
Oh,
Donnelly
God.
and Dale.
That's been a headache for years and years.
Well, and it's gotten worse and worse, and now the people are really having safety concerns up there also. So in discussions with them, we talked about the idea, and the resident did indicate he'd reached out to a couple other counselors, and I see the order relative to residential parking only. It's my understanding that we haven't been able to enforce that in the past. So the purpose of my order is to determine that there is no overnight parking through ordinance and place the noted signs in that area so that it will be enforceable, so that people in the neighborhood can actually call and have the cars removed if after a certain time they remain there. And so this was just based on specific feedback from the folks that live there, so that they're not restricted from using it, but that others who could go there, even if it says residential parking only, would be limited at least overnight.
Okay. Counselor Leahy.
Yeah, I guess there's no harm in taking both of them up at the same time, but the reason I didn't want to is, I believe, from my understanding, talking with the people up there, is they didn't want any specific numbers being mentioned. They've had a lot of issues with a lot of different people up there, the police are involved, and what they were looking for was just residential parking only. It's a small street. It's a very delicate situation. It's not only just in front of that number, it's in front of another house too. It's a very small street. So our order, myself and Councilor Shatnoff's order, is to have this go to committee and bring the police department in. I've spoken to the police about this, and that's why Jennifer Shatnoff and I would like to have it go to committee.
And I would,
Well, I'm not-
29 is going to have to go to committee too. 'cause
I'm looking for it to
we
go
need
to
an ordinance.
committee.
Yeah, okay, so the motion,
And I was open to taking them both up together.
presumably ordinance, correct?
Right.
Yep, okay.
After it's committee.
So motion on the floor is to receive 29, refer it to ordinance, and there's a second to that?
Second.
Second. Any other
And
discussion?
might as well do number 48 as well.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Okay. Motion to suspend the rules to also take up item number 48 at this time?
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
So moved.
They did not want their house number being
I'll
mentioned.
just read that real quickly. Item number 48 is ordered that, introduced by Councilors Leahy and Shatnoff, ordered that Donnelly Street be posted to residential parking. Please bring in the chief of police and city engineer to discuss. Motion on the floor is to have item number 48 also go to ordinance. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second. So we have items 29 and 48 on the floor now, both to go to ordinance. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Both off to ordinance. Okay, very good. Item number 30 is introduced by Councilors Valentin and Alexander, that the residential area in the vicinity of 303 Pleasant Street be monitored by the HPD to address speeding concerns from residents in that area. An additional speed limit enforcement is needed.
Receive and send to the Holyoke Police Department.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to the HPD. Under discussion, Councilor Valentin.
Thank you. This address is actually right at the border between wards 4 and 7. And the reason it came to my attention is because the residents only speak Spanish. So unless Councilor Alexander has been practicing his Spanish,
No hablo.
that's why the folks there reached out to me. But Councilor Alexander and I spoke about it, and we've been, obviously looking at ways in which we can make this area safer, but just looking for some enforcement from HPD and any other suggestions they might have.
Councilor Soto.
Mr. President, if I can suggest, I understand it's an election year, but emailing the police chief and the fire chief for some of these things, you can get these things done much quicker than going filing orders and being here for an additional hour. Thank you.
Okay,
Through the chair?
Councilor Valentin.
Thank you. I'm actually very aware of that, and that's how I do most of my business. The reason this one is done this way is because it doesn't belong to my ward, so it made sense, but I'm very aware of that, and it's something I actually do all the time. So thank you, Councilor Soto, for the lesson.
Okay, great. Oh, no, hold on. Everybody's being nice.
Everything's
being
good.
Nice. That was a fine exchange. Any other thoughts, Councilor Alexander?
Yeah, I just want to say, I did drive the street. It's already posted very, very well, but apparently there's still a speeding problem. I guess this particular resident had one of their pets killed on the street, and people do wail up and down that street all the time, so.
For sure, yeah, for sure. Okay. So motion on the floor is that this be received, adopted, and referred it to HPD. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. President,
Yes,
real quickly before we move on, there's a correction from your president's report. I just received a call on it.
okay.
Sorry, no.
Oh, it's fine, it's fine, yes. This just in.
Could be a first.
Attention, attention.
it's
We're getting
important.
live, well, hold on. First of all,
Mr.
the
President, would you
TV
sit
must
down,
be
please?
working if we're getting live corrections.
It's working.
Mr. President, would you sit down first?
It is not October 14th at 1 o'clock at the senior center. It's October 21st at 1 o'clock.
21st?
I just received a call from Ms. LeBlanc asking for the correction. She said it's the 21st.
Well,
Whatever
she-
you have may just be printed incorrectly. I just got the call.
However,
I didn't say it was your fault.
Blame it on Ryan. Ryan, what do you?
I'm
just-
saying there was a correction.
there's a correction, okay.
So October 21st, 1 o'clock, not
All
the
right.
14th. No one's fault, just an update.
Well, tell Ann we thank her for being such a diligent listener. And yes, but I will assure you, this very much said the 14th, but the 21st it is. So October 21st, now 1 o'clock. Great.
What is the event?
That is
Mr.
that
President?
senior come, say hello.
Come senior forum thing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
At the senior center. Apparently, it's now the 21st.
Well, we could go both days.
That's right. And if you come early enough, there's lunch provided. I don't know if we qualify for the $2 lunch, but
Brown bag.
We will try.
wonderful. Item number 31, introduced by Councilors Valentin and Tallman. Ordered that the possibility of establishing several resident parking-only spaces be explored for the residential area on Beach Street located directly across from Wisteria Hearst Museum. Residents there are having parking difficulties on evenings when the museum has events.
Refer to ordinance.
Okay,
Second.
motion's been made, seconded to receive and refer to ordinance. Under discussion, Counselor Valentin?
Thank you. I was actually at an event on Beach Street for Old Holyoke redevelopment, and Councilor Tallman and I were there. And former Mayor Marty Dunn said that he had been exercising in the beach area and had spoken to some of the residents, as a coincidence, about their concerns about when Wisteria Hearst has events, they're having parking problems. So it actually turned out to be a great exchange where former Mayor Dunn, Councilor Tallman and I actually went to these folks' houses and spoke to them for a little while, and that was great. And I know that these issues about kind of establishing resident parking only are kind of touchy, but I'm also on the board of directors for Wisteria Hearst, and I've spoken to the director there, and they're definitely open to looking at some options. So I'm looking forward to having the discussion and ordinance, but it's really a matter of, it's a really big inconvenience for these folks. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, Counselor Tallman?
I just wanted to briefly add on. I just happened to be there, and when Marty stated that, Josie said, well, let's go over there and let's talk to him. And it was just amazing how she just took it and just, let's go over there, find the person and discuss this with them. And this was about a year ago, I think, that Marty had talked, maybe longer, about the parking problem there. So, and there are events there a lot often at night, weddings and different events that the Wisteria Hearst has that these people have nowhere to park. So hopefully this can really alleviate that problem and have them be able to park right outside their houses.
Thank you. All in favor of receiving and referring to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 32, introduced by Counselor Valentin. A signal ahead sign being installed by the DPW on Dwight Street past the School Street intersection to warn drivers that a traffic light is ahead at the intersection of Dwight and Linden. Residents on Dwight Street are concerned about drivers speeding down their street and not being aware that a major intersection is ahead.
Receive and refer to DPW.
Motion's
Second.
been made and seconded to receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW. Under discussion, Counselor Valentin.
This one's self-explanatory, just huge speeding issues down the hill.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 33, introduced by Counselor Valentin. ordered that our current illegal dumping ordinances be reviewed to determine ways that the city can enforce them with more success. In addition, that the possibility of installing video cameras in alley hotspots is explored as a way to curb illegal dumping.
So I think I want to send this to ordinance, but also with a copy to Board of Health, because I've been having conversations with them about this issue. So that would be my motion.
Yeah, I remember the last time we checked on the price of cameras, they're about $26,000 a piece. And the sad thing of it is, I remember when Chief Scott went in with 10 dumpster violations at $500 a piece, literally all 10 were dismissed by the court. So, just FYI. Counselor Lisi.
Thank you. I'd like to offer a friendly amendment that it could go to public safety, because if we're just reviewing the ordinances to see how to enforce it, if it's an enforcement issue, then it's, I think, more appropriately in front of public safety. If out of that committee, there seem to be like actual language changes or tweaks that we want to make to the ordinance, then I think we could pass it on to ordinance from there. But if we're just trying to figure out a way to actually enforce what's on the books, I would say public safety is probably the more appropriate body.
I'm fine with that amendment.
Okay, so amendment on the
Second.
floor is to send it over to public safety. Counselor LeBron Martinez, did you have your
I'd
hand
like to be added onto that
up? Sure.
order with the maker.
Adding Counselor LeBron Martinez's name as a co-sponsor.
And also, just a quick follow-up. In my conversations with Board of Health, they've also been very helpful in terms of sharing what, for example, the city of Springfield is doing. So even though I know cameras are very expensive, there may be some resources out there that, you know, there could be, I don't know, some grants or something that would allow for maybe purchase of some of these equipment needs.
All right, so, Counselor Alexander.
I have to think that $26,000 number goes back to when you needed to run coax to the camera.
I'm thinking,
In the days of wireless everything,
Let's
it's
hope.
probably a $800 device.
Let's hope.
Right.
I just want to look into it.
All right, very good then. So, all in favor of receiving and referring over to the Public Safety Committee?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Agenda item number 34, introduced by Counselor Bartley, order that the city engineer assess the installation of a mid-block crosswalk across Hillside Avenue at Coit Street. This area is used as a bus stop.
I want to make a motion to receive, adopt, and refer this to DPW with a copy of the ordinance, please, or the other way around.
Motions-
Refer to ordinance, a copy to DPW, please.
Okay, motion, you want to refer it to ordinance
Ordinance,
with a
a copy
copy?
to-
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive this order, refer it to the ordinance committee with a copy to the city engineer. Any discussion?
This is a constituent request, very happy to get it, and we'll take it up in committee. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Item number 35 is an order introduced by Counselor Bartley. The DPW installs signage on Westfield Road before the right-hand turn into Woodland Street, advising motorists to slow down. Further, order that the DPW install sidewalks on Brown Avenue for at least the old Bosbacks to the end of the street and install sidewalks on Westfield Road from Michigan to Homestead.
Receive, adopt, and refer this to DPW, and a copy to the mayor's office, please.
second.
Motion on the floor is to receive, adopt, refer to the mayor and DPW. Any discussion?
I probably should have separated these, but the first half is a constituent request, so it doesn't need an ordinance change. If the engineering department needs specifics where the constituents wanted to sign, I'd be happy to help them. Then the second half, I realize that there's no money for sidewalks. Nevertheless, I just want to put it before the mayor and this body, importantly, because when it comes next year, Mr. President, for CDBG money, at least the section of Brown Avenue, and this is the back end of Brown Avenue, the dead end part, if you will, that's could use some looking at it. And I think folks are pretty familiar with the condition of the sidewalks from Michigan up to Homestead. They're in pretty tough shape. Thank you.
And could I be added on to this order? Because I've been getting a lot of requests on that sidewalk in
Of course,
5, too.
of course.
Thanks.
Okay. Adding Counselor Vacan as a co-sponsor to item number 35.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All in favor of adopting and referring to the DPW and mayor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 36 is an order introduced by Counselor Bartley that the Hoyoke Police Department set up enforcement at the following locations to ensure compliance with posted speed limits. 1, at Coit and Hillside, 2, at Brown between South and Laurel, and 3, south near Vin's Car Wash.
Receive, adopt, refer to HPD with a copy to, strike that. Receive, adopt, refer to public safety with a copy to HPD, please.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive this order, refer it to the Public Safety Committee with a copy to the Police Department.
Again, just constituent requests, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 37. Item number 37 is also introduced by Counselor Bartley that the Park and Rec Commission develop a plan for the playground improvements at Mayor Field and report to the Public Safety Committee with its ideas along with a budget.
And thank you. I'd like to refer this to Public Service Committee. Public Safety Committee. Is it public-
Safety,
is it public
generally fields and things of that nature are usually public service, yeah.
Okay, Public Service and with a copy to Park and Rec Commissioners.
So we'll just amend the order to say the Public Service Committee.
Yeah.
And then the motion on the floor is to refer it to Public Service with a copy to the Park and Rec for their thoughts on it and to invite them in if necessary. Any other discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, opposed, so moved, but under discussion, Counselor Tallman.
Yeah, just if I could, Counselor Bartley, add my name into that. I did file something a couple months ago with the bleachers and the benches, I think, at that field. So I'd be happy to look into that, and being on a public service committee, I'd be happy to
Yeah, Mr.
work
President.
on
Adding
it.
Counselor Tallman as a co-sponsor to item number 37.
Mr. President?
Yes, Counselor
Yeah,
Bartley.
so Jim and Pete both did a nice job of acknowledging the broken benches up there, and they've been removed basically, but a constituent contacted me, and I hope people find this interesting. There are quite a few young families moving into the Ward 5 area, that's, Vermont, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and then, the Ward 3 part of it, which is, Moss Ave and Park and Sheehan, whatever. Quite a few. It's really amazing when you go walking around up there and then you look at voters list now. And so constituents are contacting me with young families, and they're looking for stuff to do up on top of the hill. And so, sure, Jimmy. And then, so I was really pretty excited to meet with some folks up there, and really happy to welcome to Holyoke. And I was telling about Tony about Springdale Park and some of the great things down there, which they weren't even aware of. So just some of the nice amenities. Danny said 42 parks. I mean, at least that many. It's pretty awesome how many parks we have in town. We realize money's tight, but to Terry Shepard's credit, she did get back to me, unlike the aforementioned department head who did not get back to me. Terry got back to me right away, and we're going to meet up there next week, and we're going to chat about it.
May I be added into that?
Oh, happily. Yeah, adding Counselor Leahy's name to item number 37 as well. All right. We already took care of item number 38, counselors.
Did we vote on 37, Kevin?
Yeah, we had been adopted, referred to
okay.
Public Safety with a
I
copy
wasn't
to
sure we
Park
voted
and
on.
Rec.
Thank you. Sorry.
Public service.
Excuse me, Public Service with a copy to Park and Rec. Okay. And 38's all set. 39 is introduced by Counselor Graney, that the City Council, through the Public Safety Committee, look into the property at 135 Lincoln Street to make sure it's up to code, handicap accessible, handicap restrooms, fire, smoke, carbon monoxide detectors, and parking and traffic problems that may arise because has a shared driveway.
Make a motion to send it to Public Safety Committee?
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer it to the Public Safety Committee. Under discussion,
Yes,
Counselor Graney.
I'd like to speak to it. This apparently is a transfer of a sexual minorities archives from Northampton to Holyoke, and it's right smack dab in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Lincoln Street, those are single-family dwellings. So I'm concerned if this is going to be open to the public, is it going to be handicap accessible? Are there going to be traffic problems? Is there going to be, police, anything that's going to hinder the residents in that area? Because that Lincoln Street is just, there's no room for parking out on the street. And from what I also understand, that this is a shared driveway. So I think it should go to public safety, maybe with a copy to ordinance too. Maybe they might want to look at it to see if it is up to code and everything else. Because if it's going to be a library or an
Want to send a copy
archives,
to the building department, maybe?
yeah, if it's going to be a library or archives,
tend to enforce that type of thing.
this could be a pretty elaborate situation.
Oh, yeah, and maybe copy to the fire department? Copy, Counselor Soto? Okay, adding Counselor Soto as a co-sponsor on this order. Okay.
Mr. President?
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. I'm happy to have it come to Safety Committee, but is there a potential zoning issue in here?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a zoning issue, you might, who knows, we'll find out when you look into it, but I think what he's trying to focus on is if it's
Well,
if it's gonna be
I
a library,
understand
if it's gonna, I
his
guess it's
focus.
proposed as a library, what are all the egress issues,
Right.
parking issues, handicap
Mr. President?
issues, all that stuff. Counselor Leahy?
From what I was told, from what the zone is similar to like a daycare, it's, as of right.
Okay, all right.
Well,
But I think-
the zoning is acceptable for a educational facility, from what I understand. That's not the issue that I'm concerned about. The issue I'm concerned about
Where do
is
people
Lincoln Street
park,
and
where all that
parking, and
stuff, yeah.
are there gonna be buses coming in there? Are there gonna be, are people gonna be coming in? Is it public? Or is it a library? I don't know what it is, you know?
Okay, all right, well, let's find out, right?
Let's find out.
So, we have an order, that you have filed here, and the proposal is to send it over to public safety with a copy to the building department as well as the fire department. And you can have the respective, organizations come in and discuss what are the ordinances and state building code rules on all these things. I mean, they should be fresh in their memory. We just did a library recently ourselves, right? So I'm sure whatever the the regulations are here, they'll apply to any other library. I'm sure everybody's treated the same, so.
Are you going to ask?
Yeah, go ahead,
Are you
Counselor.
going to ask the property owner in to speak to some of these? I mean, because I think,
Yeah,
unless
I-
we have the property owner in to say like, oh, we're going to have this many people, or projecting
Yeah.
this
I think
type of
that's, I
use.
think that, I would leave that up to the committee chair to, when she ultimately has a meeting on this, to invite all the appropriate people in, including.
Will do.
Yep. Linda's always
It's
right on
not
top.
rocket science.
You're always right on top of that. Counselor Graney?
There is a publication, excuse me, through the chair, Councilor Lisi, there is a publication on the internet, and it gives a lot of the information, so on and so forth, about who the property owner is. So that would be a good idea to bring the property owner in to see what the situation is, yeah.
Okay, very good. And we should probably invite the neighbors too, in that area that might be impacted, if you live next door, or maybe you're on the other half of the shared driveway, or who knows what, Information is king. Okay, so, motion on the floor is to receive, refer it to public safety with a copy to the building department and fire department. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 40. Item number 40 is introduced by Counselor Jordan, that the city forester trim the trees in front of 304 Mackenzie Avenue. Many of the limbs are dead and touching residents' house. This needs to be done as soon as possible. Please coordinate with the resident when you come. I would request that this be received, adopted, and referred to the city forester. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to receive, adopt, and refer to the city forester. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 41 is introduced by Counselor Jordan, that United Water work with the resident and family of the resident at 11 Anderson Avenue to stop the sewer backups that are occurring at this home during heavy rainstorms. I would request that this be received, adopted, and referred to United Water and the DPW. Okay, under discussion, Counselor Bradley. Go ahead, Counselor Bradley.
Can I just make an amendment to that?
Sure.
Can I just add our favorite property, Mr. President, in Ward 3, the 207?
207 Fairmont?
207 Fairmont. Can we just,
I should get a stamp that
Yeah.
just has 207 Fairmont on it. That's like a standing order.
do you mind?
Are they having more troubles?
Yes, sir.
Oh, God. I feel bad for those people. They had like, okay. All right, adding amendment to add and 207 Fairmont Street. The never ending. Okay. Anybody else? All right. I did, the family did reach out to me on this particular location here to say this is a major problem during heavy rains. It only happens during the heavy rains. It's coming back into the house. So, all in favor of receiving, adopting, and referring this to United Water and the DPW?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 42. Item number 42 is introduced by Councilor Jordan, that the DPW please put on the schedule picking up leaves at the bend between St. Jerome Avenue and Dunn Avenue. Residents state that the streets fill up with leaves at that corner, making it a hazard. I would request that this be received, adopted, and referred to the DPW. Okay? Motion's been made and seconded to receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW. Basically, briefly under discussion, what's going on here is there's this huge slope on this road that goes up, and there's massive quantities of trees at this particular corner. In the fall, all the leaves, all just through the wind and whatnot, just completely fill up the street right there, making it very difficult to pass. And they're asking if the city could come by and assist, because nature isn't enough to do its own course there. Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. So in advance of the large storm that we were anticipating and the flooding, I saw the United Water trucks going around and clearing the storm drains. So I actually think that the division of labor is such that the United Water folks are doing the storm drain clearing.
Oh, okay.
So you may want to copy it there. I mean, send it to both places.
Yeah,
So that
let's
whoever
do
needs
that,
to get
just
it
to be
done,
safe.
we'll get it done.
Good suggestion, thank you. So I'll ask that this be receive, adopt, and refer to DPW and United Water. Okay. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 43. Item number 43, introduced by Councilor Jordan, that the DPW and Park and Rec please consider the possibility of installing a water sprinkler play area for the kids at Rowan Park. Please consider a layout and provide a potential cost estimate. This would probably be good to go to Public Service Committee with a copy to the DPW and Park and Rec. That would be my recommendation.
So moved.
Okay. Under discussion, there is an ample field area there at the back of Rowan Park. I think it would be nice. And there, a number of the residents up and down Sargent and West Franklin Street have requested this if possible. So we'll see. Hopefully it can be done. All in favor of receiving, referring to Public Service with a copy to the DPW and Park and Rec. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
44 and 45 as a package, please.
Yes.
Reading.
With
Waive reading.
abbreviated reading?
Please.
Thank you. Including the Spanish portion? Motion on the floor is to take items 44 and 45 as a package with abbreviated reading. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. All right, let's just walk through this, councilors. Item number 44 is that designating the voting precinct locations for our upcoming municipal election on November 3rd. It designates, at this point, no changes from what we're traditionally aware of in all of the different wards. And so therefore, I will not repeat those since we're amply aware of what our voting locations are. I will say that the polls will be open in item number 45 from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And as you know, we will have quite a number of offices up, the mayor, the treasurer, our school committee at large position, the 8 city councilors at large. We'll have the 7 ward seats for the city council up for election. We'll have the ward school committee seats up for election, and we will have 4 binding ballot questions, the first of which on the ballot will be reducing the size of the city council of the city of Holyoke. I'm not particularly sure what order they were picked at. Oh, by bill numbers? Interesting. Okay. Is that a rule, or is that just seemed as reasonable as the next idea? Okay. All right. So the first question on the ballot, so question 1, will be an act to reduce the size of the city council. That will be the first question on the ballot. Question 2 on the ballot will be the 4-year term for mayor question. Question 3 will be 4-year term for city council. Question 4 will be appointed versus elected treasurer. And then we will have a 5th question, question 5, which is going to be, should we have switched from a mayor to a city manager form of government? That will be a non-binding question. Councilor Graney.
Yeah, Mr. President, I wonder if it would be possible at all that we could publicly poll the members of the city council to see exactly what their stand is on all of these issues so that we could publish it before the election. I think that would be a good idea. So that the people out there know how we feel about these certain things. Because when we do things in committee, people oftentimes don't know how we feel on certain issues. And I think they have the right to know how their individual councilors feel. And I think as a body, if we did poll everybody individually, it would be a very entertaining, very, very good thing for the public when they go to the polls to see how we feel.
Howie, you're first.
And presumably, our representatives of the media, and I know we also do, did I also not
debates.
mention, we have some forums coming up as well. I didn't mention that in the president's report, but I want to say, in fact, I know to say, that it's October 22nd will be the city council debates. That will be at the high school, 6 o'clock. And on the 15th is going to be the mayor's debate. And I'm sure members of the panel and whatnot will be asking people those type of questions. You know, where do you stand on questions 1 through 5?
We hope so.
We hope, but presumably, or we'll get questionnaire and all that type of thing. So I'm sure that we'll have a lot of dialogue about all these 5 questions. Any other thoughts on questions 44, 45? All right. All in favor of adopting both 44 and 45?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
46 is to suspend rule number 1.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my agenda up, so I like to be orderly here. Agenda item number 46 is introduced by Councilor Jordan that ordered that we suspend Rule 1 of the Rules and Orders of the City Council insofar as it pertains to the regularly scheduled meeting of November 3rd, 2015, as this is the date of the municipal election, and reschedule this meeting, or not reschedule this meeting. But we could just roll with the 1 November meeting and play it by ear, or we could make that up at another time. You know.
Play it by ear.
Receive and adopt.
Okay.
Second.
So, motion on the floor is to receive and adopt, which will be to suspend our rules and to not have the meeting on November 3rd, okay? That's what's on the floor. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 46 adopted. Order, item number 47, introduced by Councilor Jordan. Councilor Soto, stay tuned on this one, because I believe you had some concerns about this order. Ordered that the following individuals be honored with a city council proclamation for their many years of dedicated service to the public safety and citizens of Holyoke: Thomas Kavanaugh, Anthony Gazda, Ron DeRoy, Terrence Leary, Eugene Doobie, Larry Jackson. I would offer a motion that this be adopted.
So moved.
That's seconded. Under discussion, these gentlemen were referred to earlier as they're retiring from the Holyoke Fire Department. If adopted, I will be giving proclamations in their honor at the retirement party on the 16th. That's the, Councilor Soto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, these men, which I've seen them personally for 6 years, being on the Fire Commission and through the City Council. They're all, for the most, they're good men, Harbin, and they dedicated their lives to the city. But with all due respect, I do want my name removed off of Mr. Leary's proclamation. Thank you.
All right. Just for the record, it's in the name of the city council, just so you know. Your name won't appear on the proclamation, just so you know. Your name will not, we don't put in, okay. Yeah, your name will not individually appear on the proclamation.
used to be.
But it will be the city council
Kevin's
on
name and
behalf
Brenda's
of all of us, yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. 48, as you know, we already took care of. 49 is introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that a four-way stop sign be placed at the intersection of Bauer Street within the bridge by the underpath, which I believe you mean underpass, and Mosier. Residents have made this request for safety reasons.
Ordinance?
Ordinance? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to receive.
Copy to the city engineer.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance with a copy to the city engineer. Any discussion?
Again, as I'm in the neighborhood, this is what I'm hearing. It's the concerns that they have, and that is one of the ones that have been brought to my attention, that they want a four-stop sign right under the, where the arts was developed, right under the bridge, that can cross so that they not just driving through. They drive through because it's not a stop sign, so they
Sure.
go up the hill, and they try and avoid that. You know, it's of a safety concern. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Motion on the floor is receive, refer to ordinance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 50 is introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that a handicap sign be removed at 18 Center Street as it's no longer needed. Ordinance?
So I received a call from one of the family members that they no longer need it because I guess the person doesn't live there anymore. Thank you.
Okay.
It's an ordinance with a copy to DPW because they could probably remove it as we take it off the books.
Sounds good. Motion is to receive, refer to ordinance with a copy to the DPW. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 51 is introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that the city council receive a receipt confirming from specific departments that an order has been received for the purpose of tracking orders filed by councilors.
Yes, I had filed an order sometime in the spring where, for example, I'm gonna use that example for Holyoke Gas and Electric, and I received a letter stating, you know, we have received and when they're gonna do the project in itself, and I think that it will be helpful. I have some orders that I know haven't complied with or not been done yet, and I want to just keep a track of what's going on.
So, charter and rules, Mr. President?
It's not really a need for a rule, though, I wouldn't think. What you're doing is you're asking the departments to send you some sort of brief letter or brief notice that says, we got your order, or this is, or your order is done with as far as this department goes?
Yes.
Okay. I think we should perhaps work with the administrative assistant to draft some sort of memo to ask them to, and that we would send out to the departments on it. Counselor Lisi?
Additionally, as far as I understand, our administrative assistant is the one who notifies different departments when they're copied on
Yes.
items. So I think we need something at that end also, like, so not only that they have received the order and, well, they need to say that they've received the order from this body, and then later on give a response as to what type of action they're going to take. Unless, of course, we're bringing them in, then we could have the discussion in committee.
Second
Counselor
motion.
Alexander?
Just, yeah, anything that gets referred directly out to a department, we lose the communication. We have no idea, with exceptions here and there, but we really have no idea whether it got acted upon. We know it got sent out, we don't know what happened.
Right.
So some kind of return communication saying this was the disposition of the order would be helpful.
Okay. My recommendation is we would receive this order and refer it to the administrative assistant to
Second.
work with the department heads to come up with a memo and sort of a procedure that they want to handle amongst themselves to, notify you and stuff like that, that type of thing. And in fairness to some of the departments, like DPW, we refer a lot of stuff to them. And so for them to give you a personal letter back, you got to assume that they've got it.
I'm more concerned with, did they do something about it, not
Well,
did they get it?
that's my point. And I think This is more, this order says that it's been received. I don't think we have it's a received problem. I think it's more the point that you just made, which is, it's done. You know, it's done. The work that, you asked me to go fix sign X at street X, we did it.
And with respect, Mr. President, the problem exists for the things that get referred to committee too. There's a tendency for departments to sometimes say, we're going to do X, and then the order gets complied with.
And they don't do
Because they
X.
said they were going to do X. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we have no way to close that circle.
Right.
You know, once the
Agreed.
order is complied with, it's sort of out of our visible, area.
Right. Counselor Graney?
Just a little receipt slip or something. It says order filed, acted upon, complied with. Just 3 boxes to check and come back to the original filer of the motion would be very simple to do.
Well, that's why I'm recommending we send it to Ryan so we can come up with a little bit of a, a process here. Counselor Lisi?
Thank you. I do want to just state that I think that Dave Welsh actually had a system of this sort. So it'd be great, as a recommendation to Ryan, that you reach out to Dave to see how he was, he would have other departments sign off and say that they received a copy of whatever we sent to them.
Yeah. Counselor LeBron Martinez?
But what that's the issue. I mean, I want to follow up my orders. I don't want to be tracking myself having to go follow up on all these orders. I'm talking, so I don't understand if he was himself tracking his own orders. That's the issue that I'm facing right now. I have orders since I ran first that are still lingering around, and I'm concerned that I have to file them again because they haven't been complied with or acted upon. And I understand a lot of departments are over, or understaffed for whatever the reason, but I need to know because, to be honest with you, going back to a neighborhood that is telling me this one has been, we asked you for this isn't again done, and I thought it was taken care of. I'm learning about it now. So, I mean, just a way of accountability to what, I think I've been filing every order I've been asked to do.
Sure.
And I need to know.
It's a two-way street, I mean, I can tell you my system is I keep an inventory of all the things that I file, and I follow up and I check off,
I do.
If I file an order that says move sign from here to here, when I drive by, sign moved, and that's how that's me. You don't have to be me, but I'm just saying, that's my system. But sometimes the more complex ones or the more difficult ones that we ask for, yeah, you gotta, hey, Bill, can I get an update on X, Y, Z? Where are we at, blah, blah, blah. Because in fairness to him, he gets a lot of stuff, a lot of requests. Where I don't think we want to ask for a letter back is order received. Order received, order received, order received. That's meaningless to you. I think the intent, what I'm hearing, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is Councilor LeBron Martinez, your order is done. On X date, we did X that you asked us to do, and it is now done.
Correct.
So that's what we need to
Maybe I
communicate that with the administrative assistant to create a process with the department heads to say, when you finish work that a city councilor requests you to do, you give us some sort of written, even if it's an email, something that says, you asked us to do X and it's done.
Mr. President?
Councilor Valens.
Yeah, and as you mentioned email, as I responded to Mr. Soto's concerns, I think Bill is one of the really great folks in terms of when, if you reach out to him and say, has such and such been done, he'll give you an update. But I think that that's one of the departments where they're really overwhelmed with a lot of requests. And so email is usually good, but I think if there was a more consistent system that Ryan could work on, I think it would be beneficial for everyone. Thank you.
And I think it's part of that order tracking process and stuff like that. Councilor Alexander.
Just to add, the gas and electric is the one department that I'm aware of that's really good about that. You send in, replace the light bulb on X light pole, and you get a letter back from them saying, on this date we replaced a light bulb on X light pole.
Oh, yeah, they're incredible.
So if they can do it, so can everybody.
Again,
What it is, I don't really care.
Can we move this discussion
Something.
to the administrative assistant's review?
Yeah, there's a lot of details here, but yeah. So all in favor of receiving, referring to the administrative assistant?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 52 is introduced by Council LeBron Martinez, that a proclamation be made by the council to the family of Virgimina Perez, who passed, for her many years of service and dedication to the community of Holyoke and the Western Mass region.
Receive and adopt?
Okay, motion's been
Second.
made and seconded to receive and adopt. Under discussion, you told us a little bit. You want to expand
So
on that? or-
I think, yeah, like I shared, this is a woman who's tremendous leader in our community who gave, a lot and most recently passed. And I just want to acknowledge, her in memory of all the work she did.
If I could be added to that order, please.
Same here, Lisi.
Adding Counselor Lisi and Valentin to this order? Okay. All in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Opposed?
So do I just get a hold of Ms. Devine for the Patty? or-
Yeah, to help with some of the details that you would like to put in that proclamation, that would be a good idea. Shoot her an email.
Thank you.
That would be wise. Item number 56 is order introduced by Counselor.
56 and 57 as a package. suspend the
Second.
rules.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules on items 56 and 57, to have an abbreviated reading, to put those two as a package. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so moved. Motion on the floor is to receive 56 and 57, referring both of them to the Finance Committee. These are two grants that we're being requested to approve. One is the State Homeland Security Program Grant in item number 56. Item number 57 is a request to appropriate $64,463 and transfer it from a demolition account to pay a demo supervisor and a paid demo worker, $64,463. Motion on the floor is to send both of these items over to the Finance Committee. Any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 58 is introduced by Counselor McGee. The order that the Alarm Division fix the crosswalk signals at Northampton and Dwight.
Can I amend it to add Hamden and Northampton Street as well?
Okay. Amendment to
Everywhere in Holyoke?
add Hamden and, what was that other cross street?
Corner of Hamden and Northampton.
Okay, and Hamden and Northampton. Okay, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Yes, Councilor LeBron.
While we're on this, I want to ask a question. I don't know if it can be, my question is, I have filed an order some time ago about the light bulbs in certain areas of High Street and Maple Street. And I know that we had a committee that met in regards to why they were not being fixed, because they had to order parts that it's in a place that I guess doesn't have the parts or something like that. And I'm having issues again this week, and I got calls for an accident that happened on Jackson and Maple Street, and also right over at Cabot and High Street with the blinking situation again. I did the protocol, called the right department. I just want to know, do I go again and file an order to see these? They're telling me that there's nothing can be done because I guess they're waiting for some fundings in 2018 from DOT to take care of these. So I'm asking, should I file another order in regards to some of these light issues in the city? Or
I'd stay on them about it. I mean, the other thing that we're considering too is, I've requested, I can just tell you, I've requested that we got that big massive list, right, of intersections that need to be completely redone, 10 of which are going to cost $1 million, so $100,000 an intersection. But they were like, give me the 10 worst. And I suggested to the mayor that we bond for it, okay? This is a long-term capital plan. This is worthy of bonding for. This should be done. And I asked the alarm division, the fire department, to give me the 10 worst. And they have. And I've asked the mayor to create a bond to do that. To your point, they need bucks to do this. And, we need to, I think personally, it's a capital improvement and it should be bonded for. But Go ahead, Councilor
The
LeBron.
question is based on the most worst. How is that based on what? On accidents or?
Well, yeah, the inability to get these parts, as you know, we had a whole presentation here
Right, right.
one evening where they're sending away to this Texas firm, blah, 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 blah. But they're the professionals, okay? And I don't pretend to be the master of what's the worst intersection or not, but these individuals that do this day in and out for the city said, this is the 10 worst for the city. They're in terrible condition. We can't get the parts, blah, 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 blah. And they gave us a bill of $1 million.
On the motion.
Thank you.
Okay. So, all in favor of adopting Counselor McGee's order, which is to refer this over to the Alarm Division and with the amendment to add also Hamden and Northampton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 59.
59, 60, suspend the rules, take up as a package.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to take up items 59 and 60 as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 59, the DPW install new sidewalks on Hamden Street. The current sidewalks are unsafe for the residents and a liability to the city. Item number 60 says the DPW replace the sidewalks on Northampton Street between Vadnais and Hampton Knolls.
Receive, adopt, refer to DPW.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive, adopt, and refer both orders to the DPW. Counselor Soto. Okay, adding Counselor Soto to these orders. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
61 and 62 as a package.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to take up items 61 and 62 as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 61 says, it's introduced by Counselor Soto, that a handicap sign be placed in front of 136 Sargent Street for Ivana Mora. And item number 62, that also introduced by Counselor Soto, that a handicap sign be placed in front of 15 Prue Avenue for Noelia Vizacarando.
Receive, send to ordinance with a copy on, to the Commission on Disabilities.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to, good stuff.
I'm
I'm trying. Oh, you just lost your nameplate. You're laughing so hard over there. Motion's been made and seconded to receive these two items, refer a copy to the Disability Commission, a copy to the Ordinance Committee. Any discussion?
Refer to ordinance with a copy, right?
Yeah, refer to ordinance with a copy to the disabilities. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Councilor LeBron Martinez and I are going to do some Spanish last names
Thank you.
training for all of us.
Perfect. I need it. Take all the training I can get. 63, introduced by, last order on the actual agenda, introduced by Counselor Soto. And it says that an ordinance be created which creates a rule limiting the potential influence of political campaign dollars of individuals holding contracts with the city for city services, including but not limited to city towing vendors, city insurance brokers, or law firms working for the city as a client. As a condition of holding these financial arrangements with the city, owners, officers, and employees of these companies should be limited to donations of $50 each to any mayoral or city council candidate per calendar year. These contracts and financial appointments should be based on merit and without the appearance of undue influence or financial gain by the campaigns of candidates for mayor and city council. Ordinance?
Ordinance, please.
Okay, motion on the floor has been,
Can I just make an amendment?
sure.
Just a copy to law.
Copy to the law department too? Okay.
Possibly.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance with a copy to the law department to review. Of course, I'm sure they're going to review any ordinance that would be prospectively made.
Yes.
As per usual.
Tony, they're towing your
I'd like
car.
for this to be before I leave too.
Usual,
I'd like to get this.
Just want to
Towing your
emphasize
car
it.
out there.
If I may.
Yep.
They need the money to give it to the campaign donations.
All right. Any discussion? Or straightforward? Okay. All in favor of receiving, referring over to ordinance? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And.
Motion to adjourn.
No?
Second.
I said 9:30, I was pretty close.
Yes.
Yeah.
You hear me? You hear me downstairs?
How many late files are there?
I think there's only 2, so.
4 late files. Okay, late file A is a communication from Sarah Carroll. It's regarding a memorandum of agreement. Enclosed for your reference, please find 2 memoranda of agreement executed between the city and the Professional Supervisors Association and the DPW Local 1459 Union, as referenced in the mayor's communication. These agreements facilitate the creation of new positions in the building department for the purpose of property maintenance and demolition. So,
Send to finance per order. of
receive and
Kara.
refer to finance.
Second.
We'd have to suspend the rules, Joe, unless if they're for discussion, or do you just want to make a procedural point?
A question,
Yes.
not discussion.
Okay, sure.
This is
Councilman
a memorandum of agreement. Didn't we agree that we would get the whole contract?
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right.
Yes, sir.
Kara, please provide us the whole agreement, not just the amendment. What's that? So these are independent memorandums of agreement? Does it amend any agreement?
It does, but only in the sense of adding the positions to the existing contract. It doesn't change the contract.
It references, though, to Counselor McGivern's point, it does reference in the first whereas section, the parties, it references the collective bargaining agreement dated July 1, 2013 to June 30th, 2016, and then it goes on to say, the parties seek to attach this addendum to that. So it's an amendment to the initial agreement. Yeah, that's the point. We have requested for amendments to contracts that we get the main body agreement, please. Okay. So motion on the floor is to receive and refer to finance, and the full agreement will be forthcoming. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Late file B. Late file B is introduced by Counselor Vacan, that the city council is provided with an update on recently settled cases by our legal department. Finance?
Yes, please.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to finance, where we'll likely have an executive session portion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item, late file C is introduced by Counselor McGee, that the DPW install a blinking crosswalk light at the corner of Nonotuck and Lincoln as soon as possible. You want to suspend the rules to adopt, or?
No.
Or do you want to send it to committee? Oh, you want to just put it on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah.
What committee would you like? Public safety?
Ordinance.
Steve.
Ordinance?
Is it an existing crosswalk, Todd?
No.
Okay,
There's no crosswalk there.
all right. Motion is to send it to ordinance. Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor of sending to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Last late file, introduced by Counselor Lisi, late file D. City Council update its rules with an appendix that itemizes all the special permits that the city council may grant to help expedite which permits go to ordinance and versus DGNR. Receive, refer to Charter
Charter
and
rules.
Rules. Okay, is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. That motion's been seconded. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We